In 2024, a video surfaced from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and it broke the internet. A former superstar sitting in a favela, getting drunk with friends without a care in the world. At first glance, you might have struggled to recognize that man, but on a closer look, you could see that it was the Emperor. Only looking less regal, more pauperous. It was Adriano, one of the most dominant strikers and one of the greatest wonder kids the sport has ever produced.
The way he was an animal. He could shoot from every angle, nobody could tackle him, nobody could take the ball. He was a pure animal.
How did he go from winning trophies with Inter Milan, leading the front line for Brazil at major international tournaments, winning golden boots, and fighting for the Ballon d'Or, to this? This story didn't start in 2024. It started long before that. The day his father died, and he was forced to drop everything and go back to his roots.
Da Europa, né? Eu peguei tempo pra mim, né? Ninguém entendeu. Adriano, larga milhão. Não quero saber. O importante é você saber ser feliz, cara. Não importa dinheiro. É óbvio que o dinheiro ajuda nós pra gente sobreviver, ajuda a nossas famílias, né? E a felicidade tua? Era novo, né? O nego fala que eu fui burro, mas não fui burro, não. Apesar de ganhar, sei lá, na época eu ganhava... E até hoje, isso pra mim é normal porque eu não guardo isso. Eu fiz uma coisa que eu quis fazer, porque eu sabia que eu estava precisando. Então, até hoje quando eu vou na Itália, até o pessoal me pergunta, pô, pai, por que você largou o futebol? Eu falei, porque as coisas foram acontecendo assim tão rápido na minha vida, que às vezes é difícil você também lidar com isso. É complicado. Pô, o cara que veio da favela, que não tinha nada, hoje está sendo chamado como imperador. Olha só.
You see, Adriano's life wasn't like everyone else's. Even many of your favorite footballers from Brazil had it much easier than he did. He was born in Rio de Janeiro and was raised in a favela, poor and looking to football as his only hope of survival. With not many role models to look up to, Adriano held on to his dad. He was his hero, his idol, his anchor, his everything. He introduced him to football, pushed him to reach the highest heights in the sport, supported him all the way, and Adriano swore to do everything to make him proud.
Não, comecei no Flamengo também. Olha só a minha luta. Sem carro, sem nada. Morava lá na Penha. Urca. Não tinha linha amarela na época. Urca. Tijuca. Penha. Como é que estuda? Eu repeti a quinta série 3 vezes.
From Flamengo's youth team at 15 to the Brazil's first team at 18, Adriano was one of the biggest wonder kids of the early 2000s. At 19, Europe came calling. Inter Milan paid a fortune for a teenager from the Brazilian favelas. This kid, a little bit too big for his age, packed his bags and left Papa back in Brazil, off to a new continent to chase his dreams.
Parte il brasiliano, ovviamente col sinistro! Pazzesco! Adriano scende dall'aereo!
But when he moved to Parma from Inter Milan in 2002, that was when we saw the first signs that things would go horribly wrong for him. At Parma, Adriano combined with Adrian Mutu to form a deadly strike partnership, and in just one season, he grew to become one of the best strikers in Italy. He was strong, marauding, and unstoppable. This was a beast in the making. But then, injury struck. It was a blow, but it wasn't a knockout. The Emperor rose to his feet again and got back to ruling the game. Then in January 2004, Inter demanded their boy back. They regretted ever letting him go, so they paid double what they had paid 2 years earlier, just to bring their prince back home. At Inter, Adriano reached his peak. Everyone in the football world was scared of him.
Now, I keep saying this, this is what throws me when I go around Europe doing Champions League, especially with TNT, and some of these teams are going, they're playing great football, and I look at the strikers, I'm going, yeah, they're good strikers. But I remember running out of the San Siro, and the two strikers that are waiting for me was Zlatan and Adriano.
Yeah.
That ain't happening today.
When I came to Inter, the first thing I said to the president, I demand him to stay because he's the player I want to play with. Because the way he was an animal. He could shoot from every angle. Nobody could tackle him. Nobody could take the ball. He was a pure animal.
His left foot was the deadliest in the game. It was thunderous, powerful, lethal.
To ask you, who had the better left foot, you or Adriano?
I would say Adriano, because he's very powerful, strong, tall, and his left foot is something else.
And one strike from it could raise the roof or decide a game. He was simply one of the best players in the world at the time. He won titles for Inter, led Brazil to Copa America glory, played with legends, built a legacy. And 2004, that was the Adriano year. Copa America Golden Boot, Golden Ball, place at Ballon d'Or and FIFA World Player Awards. He was on top of the world. But the year he reached his peak was the same year he reached rock bottom.
He got a phone call from Brazil. Adri, Dad is dead. I saw him in his room. He threw the phone and started screaming. You couldn't imagine that kind of scream. Since that day, Moratti and myself watched over him as if he was our little brother. After that phone call, nothing was the same. Ivan Cordova spent one night with him and said, Adri, you're a mix of Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic. Are you aware you could become the best player ever? We did not succeed in pulling him out of depression, and that is perhaps my biggest defeat of my whole career. It still hurts me. I was so powerless.
Without his hero, his role model, his best friend, Adriano drowned. Everyone called him the Emperor, but truly this was just a 22-year-old daddy's boy who had just lost the one person that meant the world to him. The fact that he was a million miles away from home when he got that unfortunate phone call made it hurt even more. He tried to play, to deliver, to be present, but no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't do it. He needed to go home. He had turned to alcohol, parties, and women as a way of escape. Escape from his bleak reality. Escape from his loss. Escape from his pain. Football had taken the backseat in his life. He used to play to make Dad proud, but now he no longer had any reason to play. He would turn up to training drunk, out of shape, and uninterested in everything. Adriano had lost his spark. He had lost that thing that made him, him. He had lost his joy, his passion, his zeal. But he no longer wanted to live like that. He no longer wanted to depend on the bottle for solace. He wanted to do better, be better, for his family, for those who believed in him, but most importantly, for himself. So he had to go home. He needed to be back in Brazil, back in the favela, back where he still had fond memories of his dad. He just needed to be home.
Eu não tava com cabeça não, negão. Não era mais eu. Depois que meu pai morreu, né? Não vou botar a culpa no meu pai não, mas isso mexeu um pouquinho com a minha cabeça. Eu não conseguia mais ser eu. Eu não conseguia mais jogar. Sabe, com alegria. Sabe, com aquela paixão mesmo de... Eu não tava conseguindo.
All he wanted was some peace and happiness. And he was ready to give up the money, the fame, and the accolades to go back home in search of that.
Adriano, larga milhão. Não quero saber. O importante é você saber ser feliz, cara. Não importa dinheiro. É óbvio que o dinheiro ajuda nós pra gente sobreviver, ajudar nossas famílias, né? E a felicidade tua? É muito mais fácil ter felicidade com dinheiro ou ser feliz com você mesmo, com a tua família? Eu preferi estar bem comigo e com a minha família. Não me interessa. Era novo, né? O nego fala que eu fui burro, mas não fui burro, não.
His return to Brazil was a little spiritual. It was where he was loved the most. The fans came out in droves to receive him and made long queues at stores to get his jersey. This outpouring of love from fans back home started to make Adriano feel alive again. He scored a brace on his Sao Paulo debut, and it felt like the Emperor was finally back. But you know what they say, healing is not linear. So Adriano relapsed. He went back to the bottle, back to the nightlife, back to women. He was still hurting, and since he knew no other way to deal with the hurt, he decided to drink to forget his pain. Of course, that indulgence affected his form and his physical condition, so in spite of the love he received from fans, Sao Paulo had to let him go. But Adriano didn't give up on his search for peace and happiness. In the summer of 2009, he decided it wasn't enough for him to just return to Brazil. He actually wanted to be home again. For him, it was more than just returning to his home country, it was now about returning to Rio, to Flamengo.
O nego falou, Adriano subiu, vai pra favela, ficou, né? Eu tava na minha comunidade, eu queria saber, queria voltar o Adriano, não o imperador, o Adriano. Porque sem o Adriano, o imperador não presta. Porque se o Adriano tá bem com o Adriano mesmo, aí o imperador é foda. Então, eu precisava dar uma recuada. Precisava retomar a minha essência.
Flamengo was the club his dad took him to and registered him with as a kid. The club where his dad would take him to training when he was just a teenager and sit in the stands and watch him dazzle and outperform his peers. This was the club where he fell in love with the game. The club where he made his father proud. He needed to go back, and he did.
Adriano de novo, bola na frente, Wagner Love!
Returning to his hometown and the club where it all started for him seemed to spark something in Adriano. Not only did he feel at peace, he also felt a sense of responsibility. He felt the need to give back to the club that gave him a career, and that gave him a sense of purpose for the first time in a long time. He started to put in the work both on and off the pitch. He had a dream to bring success back to this great club, for himself, for the fans, and for his dad. And he did. In just a short time, he led the club to their first league title in 17 long years. For that, the fans never forgot him. The Europeans might have called him a failed footballer or wasted potential, but to them, he was a hero, an emperor, one of their own. That 1 year at Flamengo totally rejuvenated Adriano. For the first time in a long time, he felt alive again. He was back to being his best self. He felt at peace. He had a purpose. The love of the game was returning. So in 2010, he decided to give Europe another shot. Thousands of fans came out to welcome the Emperor to his new Roman Empire. He had taken some time away from European football, but he was still one of the biggest stars in the game. Everyone was super excited to see Adriano back in Europe. This is where he belonged, right at the very top of world football, alongside the biggest stars of the sport. And he was ready to give it his all, to reinvent himself, to rewrite his story. But
é aqui, ó. Eu operei 2 vezes, cara. Olha. Por isso também que eu parei de jogar. Isso aqui, se você botar, manda até nervoso.
He really wanted to give Europe another go, but his body failed him. Now, nearing his 30s, the injuries were much more difficult to bounce back from, and the intensity in Europe made it more difficult for him to recover properly and deliver at the level expected of him. So, in the end, he had to say goodbye to Italy, to Europe, to football.
Foram muitos momentos, né, meu filho? Sempre te falei, ó, não desiste. Você pode mais, você consegue. Pior do que deu. Essa festa tá linda, tudo pra você, cara. Vou te falar, tu não merece nada menos do que isso, meu filho. Mas todo mundo te ama, não só pelo jogador que tu foi, mas pela pessoa que tu é. Um cara humano e sincero, uma pessoa de verdade. Eu tô muito orgulhoso. E claro, não podia deixar de estar aqui na última batalha do Imperador. E como esse é o último jogo, o pai quer te fazer um último pedido. Nesse momento, a sua mãe tá entrando em campo e tá trazendo nada menos que o manto sagrado. Vou pedir pra tu colocar essa camisa que tu tá vestindo agora e encerrar sua carreira aqui, no Maracanã, diante da tua torcida e do teu time do coração, o Mengão. Pode ser? O pai te ama muito e se torcendo por você. Agora volta pro Mengão e faz bonito, porque você já sabe, né? Nem cavalo aguenta.
Com o uso da inteligência artificial, a recriação da voz do pai do Adriano.
He left everything behind to focus on the one thing that mattered the most to him: family. Adriano wanted to be a star, wanted to be loved, but more than anything, he just wanted to be happy.
O importante é você saber ser feliz, cara. Não importa dinheiro. É óbvio que o dinheiro ajuda nós pra gente sobreviver, ajuda a nossas famílias, né? E a felicidade tua? É muito mais fácil ter felicidade com dinheiro ou ser feliz com você mesmo, com a tua família? Ah, eu preferi, tá? Bem comigo, com a minha família. Que confusone, sarà perché ti fermo, un giocatore. Adriano, lá. Ih, rapaz, é pra mim mesmo.
He had lived the life of a star, a king, an emperor, but when it was all said and done, Adriano just wanted to be a favela boy once again. He wanted the simple life which he had when he was a kid, when times were simpler, when worries didn't exist. So when that video hit the internet in 2024, folks just didn't understand. This was not a drunk dealing with failure. This was not a man crying for help. This was not a man seeking escape. This was not a man running away from his problems. In that very video was a man who had faced loss, pain, hurt, addiction, loneliness. But in the end, he chose peace. He chose family. He chose happiness. Some say he could have been the best player the world has ever seen. Some say he never got to live up to his true potential. Some say he let himself down. Some others even call him a waste. But in the end, what matters is that he lived his dream. He created a legacy. He inspired a whole generation. But most importantly, what matters is that, in the end, he found peace and happiness.